Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades. This is a review of the ES and the NQ for August 13th. This is the overnight high up here, and this is the overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. Now, notice here, we have these two legs up. It's a measured move. As soon as that measured move is met, price started going sideways, finding resistance right there. And when it pushed lower here, that's what formed our overnight high level. Now, as you can see, we have these two pushes off of it. Again, this is right where I started trading. Price pushes on up here. Now, as far as the long for right here, I didn't want to take a long right here because this measured move was still in play, and that's coming off the overnight high, which is a major key level. And then it got significantly below the EMA with 2 bars there, and then it did end up pushing back above here, but it's not really off of any support. And just considering the strength of what it's coming off of, I would not immediately want to reverse higher. Again, even though you've had these two spikes up here, the measured move is met. You can expect a reversal. It's coming off the overnight high, and it's not off any clear resistance right here, and it significantly got below the EMA. So considering that, the chance of it ticking higher and reaching the measured move and then pushing up higher is just too high. So I did not like entering long right there. But anyway, we push on up here, we break out of the overnight high, and when you break out of an overnight level or a range level, you can expect price to attempt to fade back in. And so we push out right here, and then since we're breaking out, just because you get bullish bars closing out doesn't mean you immediately want to buy with the breakout. You want to wait for 2 attempts to fade. Like I said, price is likely going to attempt to fade. And so you want to wait for 2 attempts. That way you can get in on the failure entry. Because second entries, they occur all over the chart. There's different reasons they happen. Sometimes they're attracting to the EMA, sometimes they're repelling off of a key level, and they just it happens to move in pairs of 2s all the time. That's just how it works because of human psychology. It happens all over the chart. And so we wait for these 2 attempts to fade, and since we have the 2 attempts, it's now safe to enter on the failure. It's made its 2 attempts. It's unlikely to fade. It's holding off the EMA right there. That looks good for a long. I did miss it because I was focusing on a trade in the exact same spot on the NQ at the same time, and so I did not get this, but this does look good to enter on. 2 legs back, holding off the EMA, even though the measured move isn't met. It's not like right here, because right here the measured move wasn't met, but we could expect price to reverse back down, and so that since it just wasn't holding off of anything, you wouldn't want to take that. But here we already have the 2 attempts, and it's holding off the EMA, continuing with this uptrend right here, so that's why I like that for a long entry. And yeah, clearly this level was not strong enough of a magnet to attract it past the EMA even after 2 legs, so that's why I like that there. But again, this was a missed trade. We continue on higher now, just to show here. So we have these 2 legs up, but clearly you can still see that on a bigger picture you have 1 leg up here, and then break, and then second leg up. So we'll get more into that price action getting bigger picture and more in real time, just noticing it get bigger picture and noticing the merging of structures and stuff like that. But anyway, clearly we have an uptrend right here, break, and a push to a new high with these 2 legs right here. And so as soon as it has the break and push to a new high, it does what is very typical of a trend play out, and it has a strong reversal. It immediately pushes below the EMA. These are bigger picture attempts to fade, because even though you have these 2 attempts to fade the overnight high right here, and then it took off, it's still very thin with this move up, hence why on a bigger picture it's 1 leg. And so this is a bigger picture reversal, and what becomes on an even bigger picture, it just becomes the break. And so, sorry if this is confusing for anyone new to looking at it on a bigger picture, but at first this uptrend got a break, pushed to a new high, it's considered played out, and then this is the reversal. But eventually this reversal just becomes the break between a bigger 2-legged move. So I hope that's clear. Now we start pushing here. At this point we're getting the reversal. Ideally you get a full-on reversal pattern, but in this case here we just got this lower high, but it was actually a pretty decent one because after the strong push below, price did manage to get back above, and then it held above with this green bar here. But then notice what price does. It opens right here on this bar, and then it ticks higher, and then immediately floods all the way down to the stops, because there's going to be people that go long right here because this is a higher low above the EMA. Now, what they don't know is that it has terrible context to continue higher because the uptrend is played out. We're rushing back below the EMA, looking to fade this overnight level. So going long is a terrible idea, but there's still going to be people who go long on these green bars, and they enter above, and they have their stop below. And so that's why I like this here. It's flooding all the way down to their stops on this lower high, very bearish, right after getting the reversal. And so that's why I like that short right there. Target is within the measured move. You have room to the overnight high. Great looking trade. Now we continue on lower here. We bounce right before reaching the measured move, and then we just have, need one more retest of the EMA. It just pushes a little past it, then continues lower here with another couple legs down. We retest the overnight high at this point. Now at this point we have this down channel right here. You don't want to take a long right into that just because it's off the the key level and also off that measured move doesn't mean you want to assume that this channel is going to break on out, because sometimes it'll hold. And so, you can't just say, oh, there's one strong level, I can enter into another. This is a clear channel right here. You don't want to enter long into that. We push on out. We have a break, push down to a new low. So even though it would have worked here, you would have gotten a long. You don't know that it's going to do that. In this case here, as soon as it broke, it immediately pushed down to a new low. So it doesn't mean you took a good trade if you got a winner there. And so anyway, we push on up here. Downtrend is played out with a break and a new low. So at this point, we can expect price to attempt to reverse at the overnight high. And so we push off the overnight high right here. This is a great place to get a failed second entry. If we push up, get a couple legs back, making a failed second entry, we're already starting that second big leg up at that point, which you can tell at this point. So, even up here, if this correction had just continued, got bigger, have a clear leg, break, a second clear leg, and then a push up, we could have easily gotten in on a good failed second entry because this is just a perfect context area for it. But, as you can see, it doesn't happen. It just continues on up without us. It starts to go into this thinner channel right here, and no entries in the whole thing. It's just first entries, first entry here, first entry there, another first entry. Really nothing to take, nothing big picture enough for me, so I skipped everything in there. And then we got this overshoot. Overshoots tend to lead to breaks. It did not in this case here. It attempted to, push down to the other side of the channel, but before it could even reach the other side, something happened, very bullish, and it just took off. And so clearly this is a two-legged move. They're connected to each other because this first leg is strong, breaking out, or not really breaking out, it's overshooting. When you break out of the top side of an up channel, that's an overshoot. And when you break out the low side of a down channel, that's an overshoot. And so we have this two-legged move up right here. Sorry if you can hear that drilling in the background. I've had construction on my house being done for quite a while now. So anyway, we push on up. It reaches the measured move. It does push on past it, but it starts to get very choppy right after. It pushes through and then immediately goes back to the level and starts going into a range. So what I was hoping for, I was hoping it would happen a bit faster before I started making the video, but it didn't, which is I was wanting two legs down to the key entry point, because it overshoots, even though it continued, there's a chance that there's a wider channel here, as more price action forms, it could get wider. Oftentimes when it continues to overshoot, that's what it's doing. But we could still get two nice big legs down to the key entry point for a long. It just, it just hasn't happened yet. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to hop over to the NQ now. That's it for the ES. So now I'm on the NQ. This is the overnight high. Again, overnight low down here. It looks pretty similar at first. We get these two legs up. Now, excuse me. Now, we push out right here. Again, I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. We started finding resistance from that previous swing. This is clearly our overnight high level. Price pushes on out. We reach this measured move. Now, at first, it just pushes on through, but then here, we get two measured legs back. As soon as that measured move is met, it immediately pushes on up. Now, I'm going to remove that for a sec just because I didn't have it there at the time. And so what this is here is two attempts to fade with a strong failure, pushing back above the EMA and pushing back above this previous measured move level. Because here's our measured move level. We had one test of it right there when we were correcting. We ended up pushing through, but strongly pushing back above. So this is basically a retest of this level. It's not a perfect retest because it did push below and then have to close back above. not, rather than two legs perfectly holding off of it. But considering that it's a fade failure and it's strongly pushing above the EMA, this looks great. Again, two legs back, perfect measured move, fade failure, retesting the measured move level right here, great looking long. Now we continue up here. We get, as you can see, a couple legs up, and then we get a sharp push down. Nothing to take here. It's just a long, or it's a bad long. It's just a first entry long below the EMA. Nothing clear. Even though it closes back above here, it just had 3 bars closing below right after a huge bear bar. And again, just a first entry anyway, so nothing to take there. We push on up here. It starts to go sideways immediately, very choppy. And then eventually you can start looking for a wider channel. It became a little more clear after this swing formed and pushed up that we're going into a possible channel right here. It only held once off this high, but these lows, you have 1, 2, 3 bounces right there, but it quickly broke. So anyway, started getting choppy right here. Got this little, fade into this little range right here. I don't like going long here because we just had this triple test, clearly forming some resistance right here. Triple test, strong bearish reaction to that, and then it's closing below the EMA. Even though it's a third bounce off this trend line right here, it's just not good enough. If we had pushed higher and didn't form so much resistance right there, we could have, had more room for 2 legs back to the key entry point where we could have gotten a better trade, but it just didn't set up well here. So anyway, we push on up here, we find more resistance at that high, and then we get a 2-legged break. First leg pushing out, we break the channel, we get this choppy correction, and then another push down. So clearly price is attempting to reverse, pushing out of this channel right here. So this uptrend now has a 2-legged break, and we can expect price to attempt a new high. This is how channels play out. You can expect them to attempt new extremes. And we have another perfect measured move right here. As soon as it was met, it immediately started pushing back in, fading this range right here. When you break out of a range, you can expect price to attempt to fade, the same way that when you break out of an overnight level, you can expect price to attempt to fade. Again, that's why we want to see 2 attempts to fade before buying the breakout, because you can expect price to fade back in. And so in this case here, rather than trying to get in on the breakout, we're going to continue with the overall trend and try to catch the fade into this range right here. So we've broken out. We can expect price to attempt to fade. It's at a perfect measured move. It rushes above the EMA and back into the range. I like this trade a whole lot right here, but there was some really clear resistance. I want to keep it within this range, and so this is a limit order trade. So after it triggers above this bar, very quickly came back. So that's why I like this trade so much right here. This is like almost, this just looks really good right here. These both are really great looking trades. Just 2 clear legs back, perfect measured moves on both of them. Yeah, I mean, it's almost cookie cutter. It's so good. Not quite on this one because of that retest not being perfect, but, it doesn't matter. The overall context is perfect. So 2 great trades here. Now, we push on up here. We go into this thinner channel. Break, doesn't quite reach the EMA, but it pushes up to a new high before doing that. And so this uptrend is now played out. We're continuing with the wider channel, and then we just get first entries, just all the way up, first entries, nothing clear. And then even if you view something here like a higher low, it's just not big picture enough in this small, tiny channel. I just view this as pretty choppy sideways first entries. So nothing for me in here. And then here we get a new high, sharp push below the EMA. It's the strongest push down out of this whole thing right after coming off of that high. Push down below the EMA, nearly reaching the key entry point. Or it looks like it did. It looks like it got off a little bit. Because if it's perfectly off that body, it actually did wick onto it there, but it really doesn't matter because it's just a first entry. And again, strong below the EMA, not ideal. I would want to see it have pushed up a little bit further and then gotten 2 clear legs holding below. Or, excuse me, I didn't mean to say holding below. I meant to say holding above the EMA. So we just don't get that. We push on up here. Then we get this push back below. This is an overshoot. So you can see here, this channel overshoot tends to lead to breaks. Now in this case here, we just got 1 choppy leg down. This is not good enough for me. That wasn't quite perfect there. Let me just adjust that. So this isn't quite perfect for me because it's just 1 leg and it's very choppy and it's just after an overshoot. The chance of getting a second attempt to break this channel right here due to the overshoot is too high, and I would not want to enter into these channel highs, which they're a little bit higher at this point, just because we're getting a green bar off this key entry point. Because again, this just does not look like a good high probability setup. After the fact, it can be easy. Just look at anything after the fact that works and you can say that's good, but this is clearly not good. It's just one leg down, very choppy and sideways. I would want to see 2 clear legs down to the key entry point. Even if we got that overshoot, it could have just gone up a little bit more. 2 clear legs down, offered a great long, but in this case here, you just got to sit on your hands because this does not look good at all. So anyway, we push on up here. It starts to get, go pretty strong upwards. So what could happen is 2 legs back off the key entry point, because then it would basically be like a failed second entry from this low. So you push up, 2 legs back, great looking long is what that could be, but it just doesn't happen here. It just, little dip down there, another little dip, not reaching the EMA. Then here we push below the EMA, and it's just a first entry again. And just for those that are wondering, like with this tick high right here, so they'll view it as first entry long, second entry long, and I understand that, to the tick that is a second entry, but that is just too small picture for me. I view this as just one leg down right here. I don't care about each tick that goes by. I care about structure breaks. To me, this is a second entry. First entry long, second entry long. Down here is the second entry, not this little wick higher right there. That's just one leg down. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it helped you see the bigger picture. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.